Our first guest today is the author of 50 published novels, 5 biographies, 4 textbooks, and 35 short stories. He has also screenwriting credits on 4 produced films, including Once Upon a Time in America, Enemy Territory, A Woman in the Wind, and Hidden Fears. He is a past president of the Mystery Writers of America and has been nominated for 6 prestigious Edgar Allan Poe Awards, including one for his short story, Snow, in 1999. And he is also a Suncoast resident. It is a pleasure to welcome Stuart Kaminsky to the program. And Stuart, thanks for taking a few minutes to be with us today. How are you?
I'm happy to be with you.
You're a busy man.
I'm very busy.
And I know you have a new book coming out in November. Is that right? Called The Last Dark Place?
I have a book coming out. Before that, I have a book coming out next month called Now You See It.
Oh, okay, great.
Historical mystery featuring Blackstone the Magician.
Oh, okay, Harry Blackstone.
Yeah, Harry Blackstone the Magician.
What's that one about? Or without giving it away, obviously, the ending, but tell a little bit about that story.
You mean the Blackstone?
Yes.
It actually was inspired by a real event that took place in the 1940s, in which Blackstone, by a clever trick, managed to get an audience full of people out of a theater by telling them he was doing the most amazing trick ever done, and he told them to go outside. And they all walked outside, and he said, look back at the theater and you will see the magic. They looked back at the theater, and the theater was on fire.
Wow.
He had used it as a ruse to get people out of the theater and save all their lives. This is true. It really happened. Mm-hmm. And that inspired me, and I thought, what if one of the people who was saved in that fire decided he was going to become Blackstone's protector and actually got more than a little insane in his zeal to protect Blackstone from anybody who might want to do him harm.
That's interesting. Did you get to interview anybody that knew Blackstone to do this? Or?
Yes, musicians.
Uh-huh. And, of course, they have wonderful stories, that whole field, don't they?
Yeah, there are wonderful stories about Blackstone, yes.
Yeah.
I've written a long series of books about historical characters, and I'm always amazed that their stories are far more fantastic than I can make up.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't get to see, obviously, the father. The son was on TV quite a bit growing up. You see him on variety shows and talk shows.
Yeah, I saw him in person, yes.
Yeah, so he carried on the name quite well. I think he just passed away about a year or two ago, didn't he? The son, I believe he did. But yeah, very popular magician around town. That'll be coming out next month. And the book in November, The Last Dark Place, what is that about?
That's part of another series I do about 2 Chicago policemen. One's named Abe Lieberman, and the other one is Bill Hanrahan. Mm-hmm. And the stories are very much about both their personal lives and difficulties with their families and the crimes that they deal with. Usually 2 crimes, mostly murder, per book.
Right. And now you also do a series of books that's based around Sarasota, don't you? Is that Lou Finesca? Am I pronouncing that right?
You got it right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, there have been 3, and the 4th one will come out next year. And those books have done exceedingly well. I'm very pleased with them. You
actually use real places in Sarasota as a backdrop, is that right?
Absolutely. I changed the name of a few of them, primarily because I want to change the interiors so they'll work better within the story. But yes, I use almost exclusively real places, not real names, but the real places, and very often the real names of places.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. If you've visited here, obviously, and if you live down here, you can follow along the story and actual places. That's kind of neat.
Oh, and people do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, I know that.
How long have you been living down here?
Since 1988.
Oh, okay. You've been here a while, and
yes, quite a while.
I saw you about a month or two ago on your show on Channel 20, I believe it is, 21 on cable.
Yeah, I do a series called So You Want to Be a Writer, and I sat down with 6 students, in the advanced placement program at Riverview High, and each week we would talk about a different subject related to writing. And now they're rerunning it, and many people obviously have seen it, because many people recognize me from that show. Yeah,
it's on about 4 times a day, I believe they play it on
Channel 20.
Feels
that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very good. I happen to come by it, and it's kind of like you're sitting in front of 4 or 5 students. They ask you questions. You give some good tips on writing, and obviously you've written not only novels but for television and movies as well. So now these are students that are actually going to study that in college. So those are students that go on.
That series was done last year, so they are already in college.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. And I hope 1 or 2 of them pursue the possibility of a writing career, because a couple of them were very, very good.
Where are you from originally, and where'd you grow up?
I'm from Chicago originally.
Oh, okay.
I spent most of my life there, and I went to the University of Illinois, where I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and then went to work as a journalist. And then years later, I got my PhD at Northwestern, where I taught for 16 years. And I was offered a job at FSU in Sarasota, and came to Sarasota with my wife and family.
Oh, great. Over where the Oslo Theater is?
Yes, exactly.
Great. So you just, like most people that come down here on vacation or for a visit, fell in love with the place, I imagine, huh? Mm-hmm. Why you decided to stay down. That's great. And there's so many writers that live down here. I know you do events over at, I believe, Barnes & Noble. Don't they have writers' club meetings over there that you're part of?
Well, we do. We're meeting for lunch today. After I finish talking to you, I'm going over to meet with the other writers for lunch. Mm-hmm. Actually, we have two new writers, famous writers, who are just moving to Sarasota, John Jakes and Martha Grimes.
Oh, great.
Both of whom are moving to Sarasota, I believe, this month.
I know. There's so many that are coming down. I know Stephen King has a place down here. I'm sure you've...
Yes.
Yes, you probably dealt with him quite a bit.
I know Stephen.
Being in the same genre, pretty much. So
Close.
Yes, very good. And I know a lot of amateur writers down here. That it's a very arts-oriented town. So
very much so. That's one of the attractions of Sarasota. Given what I do, which is I can live anywhere. But I'm very, very comfortable in Sarasota.
Without going too much into the technical end, talk a little bit your process of putting a mystery novel together. Obviously, you have done a series of books with characters that you've developed over the years, but how do you put a story together?
Okay, I'll try to keep it very simple, in fact, overly simple. I start with an idea. Something catches me. I told you the incident about Blackstone saving those people. It stayed with me, and I kept thinking about it until I built a story around it. I read biographies. Sometimes something happens in my family. I see something in the newspaper, hear something on the radio or on television. Something triggers it. But what makes it move is the character. I have character in mind, several characters in mind, and I start thinking about what could have gone wrong, and if this went wrong, how would my characters interact with that event, and how would their lives be changed? And that's basically the way I work.
Do you plot it out at all, or do you?
Yes.
Do you have to plot it out?
I plot it out. I write outlines. I usually write an outline of about 12 pages, and I have that in front of me when I work. However, most of the time I change the outline as I write. Mm-hmm. I'm not a slave to the outline. If something better comes up as I'm writing, and it usually does, I change the outline.
Do you have to know the ending while you're writing, or does that sometimes change?
Many of my writer friends, and I've got many friends who are professional and very successful writers. Some of them do, some of them don't. I know. I talked to Martha Grimes last night. She doesn't know where it's going to go and how it's going to end. I always know. For me, it's essential. I've got to know. I've got to know, for example, if someone is a killer, I've got to know from the beginning who the killer is, because I think they will think and behave differently.
Right.
But other people seem to do brilliantly without it. Rex Stout, who wrote all the Nero Wolfe books, which I love, he never had any idea where they were going or how they were going to end.
Yeah, I've heard interviews with authors, and some of them will say that the characters almost tell them where to go after a while.
Characters, that is true. That's true for me, too. The characters do what the characters want to do. But you still have that plot problem, particularly in a mystery. You have to know who is responsible. And for me, I've got to know right from the beginning, because I'm going to write that character differently, knowing he, she, or they are the ones who are responsible for the turning point in the book.
Stuart Kaminsky, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, talk to you for a few minutes.